Hi, I'm Mahesh Kamath. Because of the pandemic, the lockdowns have been on and off for almost 17 months. Children haven't been able to go to school for about 17 months. It's taken its toll, and many children have been shown to have some kind of psychological issues which are unspoken and hidden. This film is about that issue and those problems.
Oh, it's more than 1 year now. I'm not able to meet my friends.
I requested Mrs. Sudha Prasad, a very experienced teacher who's been sensitive and always caring towards her students, and asked her to talk about what's the situation among the teachers and the students. And this is what she said.
COVID-19 pandemic has created unprecedented, alarming situations all over the world, impacting all sections of society. For students and teachers, it's been a whole year of challenging new adaptations. The school has become lifeless without the bubbly students. And for students, it's a big switchover to online learning, virtual classrooms, virtual friends and relatives, minimum of physical activity, and maximum of screen timing. All this has led to both physical as well as psychological problems. Students are under tremendous anxiety and stress.
Can't go out and play football with my friends. I'm tired of being alone now.
I requested Natasha Wheeler, a teacher and a counselor from a school in Goa, to explain about how the teachers are feeling during this lockdown period and the absence of students in their schools.
Hi everyone, my name is Natasha Wheeler and I've been a teacher at Nyanvika School for the past 7 years. This is my 8th year and it's been a very gratifying experience to teach young learners. I teach children from the 6th to the 10th standard, and I did have the privilege of interacting with primary kids as well. In 2019, before the pandemic actually struck us, school used to be a very beautiful place. The timing prescribed for teachers to come to our school was at 7:55 a.m. But I used to come here at 7:20. The reason was I loved interacting with young children. Trust me, early morning if you have a conversation with a young child, they will tell you something very creative. Oh, in their innocent stories, a good lesson is there for everyone. What you see behind me is the model of Nyanvika School. But it's deserted. There isn't any human being over there. There's no inhabitant over there. And that's exactly how a school looks today. It's all deserted. It doesn't appeal to us as teachers to come to school because the primary objective of coming to school was to teach children, but those children aren't in school anymore. They are in an online class. Online learning has taken the world by storm. Everything is online now, not only learning. But are we giving to our children the same learning which we used to impart to them in 2019 and before?
There is no physical activity at all. I am missing my karate classes too. In online classes, we have to struggle to understand teacher's explanation because sometimes we have to face network issue and that is difficult to adjust.
I spoke to Helen Adru from Cyprus, and she was kind enough to send us her advice, information and guidance for the parents and the students to help them in these difficult times of the pandemic and the lockdowns. Please watch.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. My name is Helen Argeru, clinical psychologist and peak performance strategist. I want to share with you today the most important issue facing most of our generation as parents, teachers and educators is the story that children are now finding themselves in after the lockdown. There's in fact from the BBC a study recently done saying that 15% of people will experience a type of mental health challenge more than ever before because of the lockdowns. And of course we've also seen the rising statistics of child abuse and neglect and all kinds of abuse in the household because of the frustration that people have been facing during this time. Now, as we come out of COVID lockdowns and we move into the future, there are three really important things I want to suggest you can do for your children and or your family. This is part of something I call the Heart Child Movement. It is a campaign that I'm really passionate about to help parents learn about the most important thing that they need to know about child development, and that is the mind state that you have to be encouraging as a parent, which is the alpha brainwave state. Now, whenever someone is in a crisis, a trauma, a difficulty, and especially children now facing the kind of ambivalence and ambiguity, uncertainty of the future, there's enormous stress put on the system. You felt it, I'm sure, as a parent or as an educator, a teacher, or an elder, and everybody that is in the world has felt it as well, especially the children. They are now looking at a future of such uncertainty with ambivalence and ambiguity. Uncertainty is something they have to get used to. So one very important tip I'm going to talk about is really the power of nature. The second one I'm going to share with you is the real importance of being able to suggest and create play. And I'll explain why and what kind of play I mean. And then the third tip we're going to talk about today is actually emotional integrity. What you as a parent need to be doing to make sure that you are nice and solid. In that way you can really support your children much more. So let's go into it. The very important thing that's happening with technology nowadays, all the virtual work, remote working, the online education is extremely helpful to us in a time like this, but also has a certain effect on the body-mind consciousness that a child has, and certainly this in their time of development can be very compromising. And I want to bring you the serious need, therefore, for children to be exposed to increased amounts of natural alpha brainwave, because when they're in front of devices or in front of technology, as are you will be getting a certain amount of slowing down of brainwaves because of the device. When you're watching a video, when you are playing a game, when you are stimulated somehow with online activity, you are going into a calmer state, but you also are increasing a certain chemical in your brain called dopamine. Kids are getting far too much of this because they've now been exposed to devices so early in life, and they're still developing as this is all going on. So one thing you need to do as a parent is get them in front of more natural, relaxing environments. This is nature. This is music. This is teaching them to be in a state of play, a state of activity where they are calming their body down. This is going to create a natural slowing down of brain waves, which we call alpha brainwave frequency. Very powerful in relaxing the body and getting the mind very well focused. The difference in creating it naturally is that you're no longer dependent on an external source for it. You're not actually being programmed also by the technology. This is a very important thing. You can get it from pets, when you're stroking a pet, when you're listening to music, when you learn to play a musical instrument, and when you're drumming, percussion. This is something I specialize in. It creates high doses of alpha brainwave frequency. Make sure you take your kids into nature twice a week for a long period of time, if you can, an hour and a half or more. Second important tip is encourage your children to create and play into the place of chaos, and then to pack everything up, clean it up, and make it all return to as it was before they began. This is something you need to teach children, because they might be resistant, they might not want to clean it up, they may not want to even play. I'm really supporting you to make sure that you find activities, that you encourage them, get the right kids around them, get them in front of other children that are doing these kinds of activities, and make sure that you can manage your anxiety and frustration when things become a little messy, because this is very important for child development, to learn how to go from chaos back to order. This is going to help them manage a sense of uncertainty, with becoming more able to control an environment, a situation, in this case play, that is going to make them feel uncomfortable or messy or kind of unleashed. But they need this, because this is where they experience a sense of freedom that they simply are not getting enough of. So how can you get your child in front of very important activities that help them unravel, unleash, and really liberate themselves in a state of chaos, where they are not concerned anymore about things having to be good or things having to meet your approval, but then they also learn the game of cleaning up and making sure they come back to what is actually best for everybody involved. They must be able to play, go into chaos, and come back to order. My third tip for you, very important, is all about you as a parent. We all have to take responsibility right now for our own emotional honesty and our own emotional integrity. This means we have to be taking care of how we are emotionally, so that we can parent, teach, and educate children in a way where we are role modeling to them ways of being able to regulate our emotions. What do I mean? When we are very frustrated, when we are taking out our frustration onto children, we are potentially abusive. We might even be neglecting them, avoiding them, or dumping our frustration, stress, and intolerance onto them. This is very dangerous, because it creates a very volatile environment. It's really irresponsible, and it's really not going to help the child learn how to manage with their emotional stress. What you want to be doing is finding a place to really deal with your own stress. How can you do that? Talk to your friends, start to pray, be in alpha states yourself as well. Listen to very meaningful music to you. Try and find a friend that you can speak to that's on your level. And whatever you're doing, remember that you're doing it to role model to your children how to manage emotion in a more healthy way. The last thing we need is more abusive, dividing, disharmonious families in the world. We already have 51% of children abused or neglected in the world as a statistic. We really have to do better than this. So all of us as parents and teachers now, when it really matters, let's see if we can bring this new information to our children. Thank you so much for watching. Those 3 tips: make sure they play, make sure you're in nature, and make sure you're managing your own emotions. Bye-bye.
Parents have a vital role during this pandemic, because most of the time children are with the parents. So they need to set a consistent routine for the children, which includes study time, play time, and creative time, wherein they can dabble in their hobbies like art, music, dance, etc. Parents should also engage children in household chores and physical activities. This is the best time for parents to teach life skill. In fact, not teach it, basically discuss life skills like how to cope up with stress, in unwarranted situations, how to react, etc. And just a word of caution, not caution, but suggestion to the teachers, my fellow teachers. Online classes can become very monotonous and dull. So try to introduce interactive games, puzzles, or something which will keep the students very engaging. Give them small home assignments which will involve real world problems.
Many students have expressed their feelings and grievances, and we have to listen to them.
Ever since lockdown has started, we students are prone to use mobile phones for our online education, which led us into the habit of using internet and social medias more often. Literally, this affects the mental and physical health of most of the students. I do hope this ends very soon. Thank you.
Being in 12th standard, we find it really hard to prepare for our exams without even knowing our exam date. Our anxiety regarding exams, exam dates, and exam results are increasing day by day because of the confusions prevailing in our educational department. I request our government to make a fixed decision regarding 12th standard board exams. Thank you.
We were told about 6-7 months back by the media, television channels, that child marriages had increased because of the lockdowns. Let me repeat, child marriages which are not legal had increased during the lockdowns. So, and these girls are coming from a poorer sector and they can't even afford any kind of psychological counseling. And we do realize they would need psychological counseling, because at a young age, a girl of 10 or 11 years old, if she's married off, she has no clue of what a marriage is. And the amount of trauma she goes through is something we can't even imagine. And she may not be in a position to pay for any kind of therapy or counseling. So we have to give some time to think about them and perhaps do something for them. Think about them. Thank you. God bless you.